Welcome to another movie plot and enjoy the memories. It begins in the year 2197 on the moon of Triton at a research facility owned by a private organization called the Company. It's under attack, so the security set up a defensive position in the control room to protect the company's owner Saggs and his chief scientist Dr. Nabel. Once all of the outside tanks and choppers are destroyed, the blast doors are melted by a single killing machine called the disintegrator. The unit slaughters the entire room, turning whatever its light touches into a splash of goo, but before it kills Saggs, it's shut down remotely by Nabel. They have a good laugh at the demonstration from their robotic warrior, and with only 100 of them they could take over the Earth. Nabel says he's already built 5,000 units, which pleases his employer, who receives primary voice control over the new army. He then tells Dr. Nabel that everything must be deniable, so he orders the disintegrator to eliminate the only loose end. Elsewhere in the Milky Way, the space trucker John Canyon is hauling a shipment of square pigs along a heavily advertised freeway. He delivers the Martian swine to the company rep Keller at a space station truck stop, but he got delayed, so the owner of Interpork won't pay him the full price. Attempting to rob him, John punches one of his henchmen off his magnetic boots, but the others ordered not to shoot or risk blowing them all out of the airlock. The two part ways for now, with Keller yelling threats and leaving John to visit the station's hub diner as he's a regular. Inside a little O'Neill cylinder, a waitress named Cindy works every day to afford a ticket back to Earth to visit her sick mother. She serves the trucker trainee Mike, who's respectful to John, but he behaves rude towards the youngster as he feels threatened by him. John intends to marry Cindy, who's agreed to go through with it under the conditions that he can find her a way to Earth to be with her mother. Because John works independently, he struggles to find any work that isn't for the company, who holds a monopoly over shipping to Earth. He gets warned by friends about space pirates attacking independent truckers lately, which has them all signing up to the company. Suddenly John sees more Interpork people stealing his cargo of hogs and confronts Keller, but he demands the trucker leave his diner. A fight breaks out, but John's outnumbered, so a recently recruited Mike helps but gets beaten up by one of Keller's henchmen. The same moron from earlier attempts to shoot John, but Cindy swats the pistol away, causing him to hit the window. The room depressurizes, and even though John still tries to save him, Keller involuntarily plugs the hole in the window with his backside. His back's then broken and he's expelled into space, while John, Cindy and Mike divert from the crowd into the bathroom. Inside an always occupied stalls a number pad disguised as a woman that allows them entry to an underground office. Zesty supplies John's contracts, but says that the only job they've got going's a shipment of pleasure bots going to Earth, which has Cindy excited for the location and Mike the cargo. John agrees to take it and all board his rig, where Mike says he thinks Cindy likes him but asks his captain's permission first to have a go at his fiancée. He's defensive about it but doesn't feel he has the right to say no, and they hook up to the creepy looking containers that they'll be transporting to Earth. The moment they depart the station, 3 space police arrive to arrest them for Keller's murder, but John refuses to pull over. He leaves the freeway, destroying a cop in the chase, while the others give up when John takes the rig into a region controlled by pirates. Drifting through the scum cluster, an asteroid field of stealthy black rock suddenly appears and John's forced to make evasive maneuvers. The rig takes some minor damage from a stray rock that leaves them adrift in space without any cooling system to survive. Before they get roasted by the sun, John comes up with a plan and puts on a spacesuit to go outside and detach their heavy cargo. It will make their rig light enough to use the last bit of fuel to position them in the shadow of an asteroid to cool down. While he's outside working, it gets so hot inside the rig that Mike and Cindy wisely begin taking off their clothes to cool off. Naturally, it ends with the 2 attractive young people making out when Cindy pulls away due to her agreement with John to marry him. When John's detaching the cargo, a company turret deploys and begins firing at him, so he's forced to retreat and come up with a new plan. He finds his fiancée half undressed with the new guy, and the two begin arguing about John coercing Cindy to marry him for a ride to Earth. Cindy says that nobody'll get her if she's burnt to a crisp under the sun, so they begin working together again to find a way out. Learning that the rig doesn't even have a refrigerator, as John is too cheap to pay for the extras, they crack a beer and prepare for their inevitable demise. Out of nowhere, the giant pirate ship, the Regalia, scoops the rig up into its cargo hold before the crew prepare to board. Mike wants to fight, but John takes the more sensible approach, and when the pirates break inside, he surrenders the rig and themselves. The first mate, Mr. Cutt, brings the 3 onto the Regalia, where dozens of depraved pirates are excited when they hear what the cargo contains. The prisoners are chained up as the pirate captain Macanudo enters, who's just Dr. Nabel with burns and mechanical parts. His attention's drawn to the half-dressed Cindy, and he talks about how Saggs betrayed him, leading him to become a pirate against the company he once worked for. Saggs made the mistake of leaving him for dead in his own laboratory, where Nabel was able to piece himself back together. He asks the boys what they're hauling while threatening to cut off John's manly process, but he's holding Mike's while saying it. Cindy saves them by agreeing to sleep with the cyborg if he would take the cargo when they're finished and let them leave. The captain takes Cindy into his quarters where he tries to make her feel comfortable with his offerings, but she just wants to get it over with. The doctor reveals his self-rebuilt body containing his low-power electrical Wang pulse that requires a ripcord to get going. Meanwhile, the crew ignores John's warnings and attempt to drill into the suspicious cargo, but their diamond bit breaks. The turret activates and shoots the driller before starting an all-out gunfight, while John and Mike are just lucky not to get hit. Eventually the pirates destroy it with a rocket as the dying driller remarks that he smells something cooking, but it's just the hole in his chest. Nabel's about to emit the low amp pulse when Cindy detaches some of his tubes, leaving him flailing about on the floor in his own fluid. She then gets into his disguise and the crew believe it, but before releasing the boys, the cyborg connects himself back together. Punishment for not sleeping with him, he says that after he finishes hacking up the boys, his 300-man crew will all get turns at Cindy. John says that maybe the dangerous cargo should be his priority, so Nabel's homemade brain auto-directs its attention to the more pressing matter. His crew cut their way into the now defenseless shipping container to find a full supply of the disintegration droids. Happy to see his design and saying that with them they can bring down the company, Mr. Cutt notices that one of them is missing. It appears behind its creator, and still being under Saggs' control, the unit begins to massacre its way through the crew. Mr. Cutt has his hand crushed but manages to sound the alarm, and just before the robot attacks, the trucker's backup arrives. It distracts the disintegrator, which uses martial arts in close quarters and produces deadly blades from its arms. When slicing the remaining men up, one throws a grenade at the machine, but it just catches it and tosses it back. Cindy frees Mike and John, who opens the airlock before they make a run for the rig while avoiding the disintegration rays. Everyone gets sucked out into space except for the disintegrator, whose magnetic feet keep it from leaving the ground. John, Cindy and Mike leave with the cargo still attached to their rig as behind them the regalia explodes, killing everyone else. Setting a course for their home planet, Cindy learns the controls while John and Mike go to check out the noise coming from the ship. They find a mortally wounded Nabel in the hold, who reveals the true nature of the cargo as an army of warriors being sent to take over Earth. Not able to control them, he still has the device to shut them down and dies as the disintegrators melt their way through the hull. The first wave advances on the pair, but John just turns them all off with a flick of Nabel's control switch. They check out the rest of the cargo to find that more droids are activating, but they aren't able to be turned off until completely assembled. Two of them escape and walk around the exterior of the rig to the cockpit, so Cindy puts on a spacesuit while the boys join her. The disintegrators smash through the windows, and before John can activate it, one slaps the control switch away. Not able to shoot in case they destroy their means of transport, the machines use their blades while one tangles up Cindy with its mechanical intestines. Mike destroys it using an extinguisher to freeze the components, while John takes out the second by microwaving its head and knocking it into space. Approaching Earth's orbit, John releases Cindy from any obligation to marry him and tells her and Mike that they should be the ones getting hitched when they arrive. Despite Mike's assurance the rig will burn up on re-entry, John tells them to take the escape pod while he releases the cargo and rides the rig down to Earth. He goes outside again and plants bombs on the couplings, but more disintegrators activate, so John drifts away on a tether and blows them up. It doesn't detach the cargo, so more droids begin pouring out of the container, but Mike returns and uses the shuttle's thrusters to save John. He then descends to Earth with Cindy and lands safely on the planet's surface to begin waiting anxiously for John's arrival. After he reels himself back inside, the next wave activates, so John puts the rig into a spin, flinging the disintegrators into space. He takes his truck in backwards, so the cargo's all destroyed first, but one of the last killer robots makes it on board. Cindy and Mike expect nothing but smooth sailing from here on out, but the rig explodes above them and they both think John dies. He managed to safely escape with his parachute before the machines got him, and is welcomed to Earth on his landing by his friends. Sometime later, when they've recovered, the guys take Cindy to a hospital to meet her healthy mother, Carol. She almost looks the same age as Cindy, as she was cryofrozen 2 decades ago until a cure could be found for the illness. John is smitten with her at first sight, and she with him when Secret Service enter to clear the area for the presidents of Earth's arrival. Pushing handicapped people to the side, the president is now Saggs after the previous one resigned a week ago and the government was privatized. Knowing him from Nabel's story about the traitor, everyone wants his head, but Saggs offers John a new rig and pays for all of Carol's bills. He also gives the trio a suitcase full of cash to keep them quiet about his army of droids, so John tactfully accepts it just so they aren't murdered. When the leader of the planet leaves, John's now fine with keeping the company money and tells the couple to use it to begin a new life together. Mike's now on the other side and is completely against working for the company anymore, so he tosses the briefcase out of the window to live life for himself. While Saggs is hopping into his limousine, he activates a bomb hidden inside the suitcase, but it lands on his vehicle and blows him sky high. With Earth safe, Mike, John, Cindy and Carol quickly escape to the spaceport before they're blamed for the assassination. They take their brand new rig and blast off to find some more independent space trucking to do elsewhere. And the movie ends.